The intro worked. First time.
Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Emily, and we're here today with Greg Gilmore. Hi, Greg.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you, where do you think people are most likely to know you from?
Mother Love Bone, I would yes, yeah.
Yeah. So, listeners, Greg was the drummer for Mother Love Bone and a bunch of other projects, kind of Seattle rock legends. So that's really, really exciting for us, as most of our listeners know. Andrew and I are both based in Seattle. So thank you so much for joining us bright and early on a Sunday morning as we record this.
Oh, thanks for the invitation. Had my coffee, a treat. I'm ready.
Nice. So let's kick it off. Andrew, what's new with you? You have a different background.
I do have a different background, and this one isn't nearly as interactive, but much easier to clean up. This is actually, I'm now touching my background. It's a green screen.
Poser. I can still interact with mine.
That's pretty great.
All these guitars are literally right here next to me, but the angle with the way that my desk is set up, I've been recording for a few months now with my camera over here and just a weird side angle where you can see my laundry room and whatnot. See the cats going in and out to
the
bombard
litter box area.
The litter box area that has a tendency to bombard my senses. And so, yeah, no, I picked up the green screen from a coworker a couple weeks ago, finally got it set up. And yeah, no, it's neat. I think my favorite part of it has to be I don't have to clean my room anymore, much to the chagrin of Melissa.
That's pretty cool. So it's a photo. It's just a photograph of a wall that's to your left.
Yep, just a photograph of the wall that's right next to me. If I just turn...
Are you going to turn it off?
Oh, wait, there we go. Whoops.
Now you're in San Diego.
Now I'm in San Diego at 60 cycle hum. And then, well, I guess now you can see the area that's all black is actually green. I've just got it chroma keyed out. So there we are. That's the little bit of fun that I've been having.
Yeah. Good for you. I'm glad that you had fun with that. So what's the former office now that it's not an office anymore?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
What? So never mind. Greg, what's new with you?
Well, I don't have a green screen. That's all real.
Is that a CD collection back there?
How do I turn this that way? It is, yeah.
Oh, look at that.
And what's left of what used to be a lot of vinyl.
Yeah. Last time we moved, I was like, damn, I miss just having a lot of CDs and not a lot of vinyl records because they are easier to move than vinyl.
Yeah, I realized CDs are not really cool, but I actually I appreciate them in many ways. The portability and also a bit of contrary. I suppose I think they sound fine.
I think they sound good. I still buy CDs when, especially if it's something I want to listen to in my car, because though I can connect the phone to the Bluetooth to the radio, I'm never going to do that.
Yeah. Same for me. I'll buy CDs if it's something I want to have. It took me quite a while to come around to paying for a streaming service, but I've been absorbed now. And, even if I have something, a CD or a record, if I'm sitting on my couch, it's so much easier to just beam it to my stereo from my phone. But
sure.
Flip around, yeah.
But the paying, like buying MP3s, I can't go there. Yeah, I can't imagine. It seems it's not a thing. It doesn't feel like
ownership. It doesn't feel like having the thing at all.
Yeah.
And apparently it really isn't, because you can't will your digital MP3 collection to somebody. Like it's
right.
And I feel like that's a pretty clear indicator that it's not really ownership. It's just like a long-term rental.
I bequeath you this thumb drive.
Yes. You get my digital collection, the whole of it. Really leans heavily into the mid 2000s indie rock. Hope you still like MGMT.
Best thing I did with all the iTunes gift cards I got from birthdays and whatnot was purchase Logic off the App Store. I like having physical CDs. On the other side of the green screen, I've got my CD collection. It's not nearly as large as that, but it'll get there eventually. I just like having I like having the physical copy. I've got the hi-fi system over here. Just set it into the tray and I prefer it that way.
Don't worry, time will fill up your precious space. Sure.
You know, I remember my dad used to he had a big baseball hat collection. He would keep them in like a milk crate. And I remember once he was like, you think about hats is you buy one a year, and then next thing you know, you have like 50 hats.
Yes.
like Cincinnati Reds caps. And you're like, yeah. Feel the same way about guitar pedals right now.
It's all the same. Anything. A thing is a thing. Hey, does that?
A thing is a thing.
My furnace just came on and it's loud here. Is it?
I can't hear the furnace. No, I don't think.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, Emily, what's new with you this week?
Well, I have some new friends that you're going to be very jealous of, Andrew.
Uh-oh.
You're going to be very jealous of these Walrus. Is it Mako? Because I've been calling it Mako series pedals.
I think it's Mako, based on the Mako shark. But
what the fuck do I know? So these are, I have the 3 Mako.
That's how you pronounce the name of that shark?
I think so. I've also got a friend named Mako, so that might be what's coloring the way that I pronounce that.
Shark.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That's a neat graphic.
It is.
Yeah, it's different than the other graphics on the old one, the D one. I think the new graphics a lot better.
Totally agree.
So I filmed the demos for all of these yesterday, and they're good. They're really good. They're really very versatile. I don't think this ACS1 is an amp cab simulator in a box. It sounds really nice, but I don't think it's going to replace the Iridium for what I use it for. But it's got MIDI.
I've heard that the Fender model is pretty on par with the Iridium Fender model, but the Vox model sounds worlds apart. This is from everything I've been told.
I like the Vox model with the Fender or the Marshall cab because they're just a little bit darker, and I find Vox to sound really brittle in general.
Sure.
It's like, so I'll play a Vox model, and I'll think, I don't like this at all. And then I remember, I just don't like Vox amps.
I'm slowly coming around on them. Over the last 5 years, I'm finally starting to get there. Appreciate the sound. But
is it just like the ears die a little bit, so you can't hear the high end as much?
That could be it. For the listeners that might not remember, I've only mentioned this a handful of times, but my first instrument's actually drums. Which, to that end, it's great to have a drummer on the show.
You can talk about drums.
Oh, God.
And then he stops talking about drums just like that.
No, I my first instrument was drums. I picked it up when I was a kid and grew up listening to a whole bunch of stuff. I remember sitting in the garage and listening to grunge albums and trying to play through as best as I could just along. So to that end, it's super exciting to have you. I'm very stoked to have you on the show. A lot of Pearl Jam, a lot of Nirvana. Let's see here. Jane's Addiction was always a tough one for me to wrap around as a rookie drummer. Mm-hmm. So those are the sorts of things that my dad would just slip me behind my mom's back.
Oh, your dad was into it?
Yeah, my dad was into it. Definitely. So he had all those CDs on his rack, and that someday I would like to inherit those.
Why don't you just buy them?
Yeah, I could probably do that.
just buy them.
He does have a vinyl press of Bleach, Nirvana's first record, on pink marble. And one of these days, I'm like, hey, if you're not gonna listen to that, I'll take that off your hands.
Who was the second guitarist?
Chad?
Jason Everman?
Jason.
Yeah. I know his sister. I like her a lot. Mimi. Giving her a shout out. Hey, Mimi. I don't know if she listens. From her beautiful farm in
Well,
Port Townsend.
I'll try not to jump the gun too far, but I did just listen to the 1982 record, and the drum sound phenomenal on that. So
yeah.
Oh, cool.
So
thank you.
Yeah, I was listening to that thinking the drums are really good. I was listening to it again this morning. I'm like, oh yeah. I always forget. I feel like when it comes to like punk records, I'm always like, the drums are really good. Everything else is sometimes good. And not on the Livings record, but just in general. Sometimes I listen to punk and I'm like, I feel like you can't fake it with the drums the way some people can kind of fake it with guitar and bass. You have to really hit those things.
Yeah, that's true. You can't get away with much.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't. There's not much to hide behind.
No, that's true. Awesome. Well, I normally we do a lot of chit chat, but I feel like it'd be fun to really just kind of get into the record, get into everything. But before we thank our sponsors, I do want to point out that if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, if you could like, subscribe, reviews really helpful, free to do, free way to support the show and the channel. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/getoffset. So if you want to support us at the $5 and above level, you get access to our super secret Discord server. And you get to do things like watch our videos, some of our video content early, get input on topics, questions we might ask guests, and fun stuff like that. We also have a website, getoffsetpodcast.com. If you throw the /shop at the end of that, we have some merch. So if you for some reason want a hat that says Get Offset or a onesie for your baby that says Get Offset, we make and sell those. I don't know why I thought that would be a good idea.
How does the onesie only come in baby sizes, or is it something I could look for?
Oh man, I don't know if the website has like full human bodysuit type situations. I don't think it does.
We should fix that though.
We should fix that. I sent the drummer from Charlie Bliss a Get Offset onesie when he and his fiance had a baby. I never heard back about it.
Oh no.
I think I sent it out. I'm like, I don't know why I thought this would be a good idea to make these onesies, but I have them, so here's one.
Sending unsolicited onesies. Suppose that's not the worst unsolicited thing one could send, but
oh, that's true. The worst is advice. Cool. So do you want to thank our sponsor, Andrew?
Yeah, I'll thank our sponsor real quick. I want to thank Lambertones Pickups, based out of Yakima, Washington. And Curtis is a friend of mine, friend of the show. He makes phenomenal guitar pickups. If you're in the market for upgrading your tone, 100% recommend. Go check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Nice. That was a good spot.
Short and sweet.
Well done.
I know I like to ramble sometimes because I do like Curtis and like to talk about what a cool guy he is and his cool stuff, but I'll keep it short this time.
Cool. Nice. So let's talk a little bit about what brought Greg onto our show. So as we mentioned, Greg he drummed for Mother Love Bone. That's a seminal Seattle rock band. Really, really well respected and appreciated. You also were in a band with Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses back in, I assume, 1982, called The Living. So it sounds like you were do you want to tell us a little bit about how you found these recordings and how they sort of came to life and how you all decided to release them for, I assume, the first time?
Yes,
At least the first time in a long time?
The first time ever. It's a project that's been in the works for I don't know, it's 8 years maybe this started.
Wow.
Oh God, how to be succinct about this? It's the let's see, 1, 2, 3, sort of 4. Oh, this is how you count it. 4. It's the fourth. It's Loose Groove with Regan and Stone. That's the fourth label that have been interested in this record. It started with the band's had a manager at the time. He was also a big fan. He liked these recordings, as we all did, since they were made. He had some encounter with a couple of kids from Portland who were wanting to, or they were either already doing it or wanted to start up a boutique record label, and so there came the idea for them to make a record out of this 7 tunes, and for reasons that didn't work out. And then through another friend of mine, ironically also in Portland, he hooked us up with another deal, and that was happening until, for reasons, it wasn't. And then I went spent an afternoon with my old friends at Sub Pop, and that was happening, and then it wasn't, and then Regan and Stone came along, and now it's happening.
Nice.
The tape, the original 8, it's a old 8-track, multi-track. The tapes have been sitting in, they were in John Conte's custody all this time. So when the first deal came up, we just had them digitally transferred, and I got the files and mixed the record myself.
Oh, wow.
I guess I have been the one sort of spearheading this thing for all these years.
Yeah.
And so relieved that it's finally happening, and I can stop now. I can just, it's already, this situation is bigger than any of the others would have been. It's already got more attention than I expected that it would. And so now I just get to hang out and talk about it and wait and watch to see what happens with it. Very curious.
Yeah, so it's going to be released in like 3 weeks or a month. It's mid-April.
16th, I think. Right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, so that's just shy of 4 weeks from now. 3.5 weeks when this episode comes out. That's coming up quick. Especially in the world of last year where time just no longer exists.
Yes,
this big of imagination.
Right.
No, that's super exciting.
We're going to blink and it'll be May.
Right. Oh, totally.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's already, I'm already having that experience with March that we're most of the way through.
Yeah, March can end. I'm not a fan of this March, but it doesn't care.
This one in particular, or Marches in general?
It's not a great month for my allergies.
Oh yeah.
So just March in general. But it's really interesting to listen to older records like this, especially records that did feature people who would, come to prominence within this supposedly grunge scene or other rock scenes. It really is this interesting stepping stone, because we think about Andrew especially thinks about grunge. Grunge is a genre, and and just like how these bands that became so huge and so prominent affected so many of us. They weren't just birthed fully formed like Athena from Zeus's head. There were stepping stones, and there were projects that, if they didn't exist, who knows exactly what would have happened with the rest of the scene and the bands and how they came to be. So it's really cool to listen to these things that maybe otherwise never would have been released. I think that we all have these bands that we like, and we would absolutely love to hear more of the people who were behind it. So I think I think a lot of people are going to be really excited and have a lot of fun with this record.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know what to expect. It's it has a quality of things that I like, that I wish I would like to imagine the things I'm involved in. I think it's really good, so that makes it easy to put it out into the world. And
yeah,
no, I really enjoyed the record.
See what happens.
No, I think it's a great record, and I think what's striking to me is you guys were so young when you recorded this. I mean,
yeah. I know Duff McKagan was 17. How old were you?
I must have been 20.
Wow.
I don't know if Duff. Duff had a birthday. He might have turned 18 by the time we recorded.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But whatever. Yeah, we were 17 or 18 to 20.
Babies.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than the music I was making when I was 17, 18. I'm now getting flashbacks to a terrible talent show that I did with my high school band, Rainy Thursdays, that went absolutely nowhere. But no,
those are some of the best memories. The talent shows. Oh God.
Yes. Memories. Some best remembered, some best forgotten. It's hard to say, but I mean, you're coming back around listening to this album decades after it was recorded, listening to this youthful angstiness that you guys just put on tape. Mm-hmm. What is that like for you to revisit that decades later? And sure, you've gone through the process of a few different labels and finally come around to working with Stone on getting this released, or working with Stone to get this released, which has got to be a great experience for you. Talk about Seattle royalty. But I mean, what is this like for you listening back to this? I mean, having mixed it from the digital's conversions and revisiting that.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel so much like revisiting. It was. It was very familiar and still pretty fresh in my mind. I mean, I really, this was the first real multi-track recording I had ever done as a musician. And it turned out really good. And so everything about it, the sound and the feel of it was pretty well embedded in my memory. And so when it, pulling up the tape, there were no surprises, I guess, or it didn't even sound that new to me, or I wasn't even reminded of much because I still was so familiar with it.
Yeah.
It was something I just loved it so much from the time we made it, that I had carried it with me. all those years. It was always
there
somewhere, even though, had the cassette copy I had of it was long unlistenable. I still knew what it sounded like.
Yeah, as someone who I recorded an EP in college, and now, like 10 years later, I still go back to listen to it. I'm like, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what it was. I still like it. There are definitely things I would have done differently, but it really does, for me, I can relate having that. It's not even nostalgia for me when I go back to listen to older music I wrote. It's just, I'm proud of it. I liked it then. I like it now. And I think that if nothing else, if no one else listens to the music I create, if I create something that I personally like, I feel like it was a success.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I have had with this. And to say that it's not a feeling of nostalgia, I know what you mean, because that's, I guess that's what I meant when I said it was still kind of current to me, like there were no surprises, and so listening to it isn't so much wistful feeling of
I feel like nostalgia has to have those little pings of sadness. I feel like that's just
a little bit of melancholy or something
in the word.
Yeah,
like, oh, those were the days, or some other feelings. The days.
This is not that way for me so much. It's still just I think it's as cool as Violas as I ever did, and that's kind of all there is to it.
And it really sounds good. It doesn't sound like a demo. And, I feel like with early 80s recordings, sometimes the tape quality, there were struggles. We just had, it was Steve who was on the show, Andrew, who was talking about early 80s, late 70s tape and how it would just shed. You couldn't bake it enough. But this was recorded on an 8-track, you said?
Yeah.
8-track tape? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. It sounds really good.
Yeah, the recording, it was well done.
Yeah.
For sure. So there was
Do you remember where it was recorded? I'm sure the studios are different, but.
Yeah. You familiar with American Music?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I used to live right up the block from there.
Yep.
Yeah. The and the sort of wing, that side of the building that is now the drum shop.
Yeah.
That was the studio.
That was a studio?
That was it.
That's cool.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I've been there 100 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've walked right through exactly where that space is to check out the drums.
Yeah, that was it.
That door they keep closing.
Yeah. Is that a reference to noise?
Yeah, they would. I just remember being in there, and I'd be looking at the guitars, and all of a sudden you hear, and then right after you hear the door, someone running over and closing the door, like no.
And then it starts to sound like.
Yes,
exactly.
Man,
and then store staff
like
inevitably apologizes for it, and.
I really like that store. One of the reasons I like that store is because the amps are all in a different room, unlike a Guitar Center where you go in and it's just like 1,000 people noodling in this big open space and it's all bouncing off the walls. And I like American Music that it's just like, you gotta go through there, you gotta close the door. All the amps can fight with each other. I feel like every time I'm trying out a reverb pedal, there's somebody else trying out a big muff. Like
at full volume.
That place
it smells like a big muff.
That place is an institution. It's been there since the beginning of time, as far as I know. That's just remarkable that it's still there.
Yeah, it's like since 1962 or something.
Could be my first experience with that place.
73.
Seriously?
73, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It had to be late 70s. The first time I went there, became aware of it. It's just remarkable and great that they're still there.
Yeah. Yeah, I really have a very intense love and have since childhood for independent music stores. I always felt like the people there were better than going. No offense, Andrew, who worked at a Guitar Center, but
no offense taken.
Yeah, the Guitar Center, every time they're going to assume I'm not the customer, but especially if I go with my husband. Oh, it's a great feeling. Yeah. Andrew, what questions you got? What do you want to talk about?
Oh, I've got a lot of questions of curiosity, some of which might be answered, some of which I don't understand not getting answers for. But I'd be just so curious to pick your brain on this. So, I mean, so you guys record this record and it sounds great. It never gets released. And then you and Duff go to a 10-minute warning, right?
Yeah, Duff went first and played drums. And then they made some changes after, I don't know, I think it wasn't going to be very long. Weeks, months, short months. You know how time in retrospect so condensed. But yeah, he went to play drums, and then they invited me to come play drums, and he started playing guitar. So anyway, yes, go on.
So, I mean, so that happens, and then you guys move down to LA, which is, I used to live in LA as well. And I mean, what was that like to go from this record that so clearly, like, there's a very primal human connection that is just very apparent listening to the record. I mean, that's, you guys are bearing your heart and soul in that, and then moving on to the next project so fast.
Well, at the time, it didn't, it didn't seem like we're moving on to something so fast. At that age, it's just what you do. I'm working this out with the aid of Kurt Block and his some calendars or some documentation dated that he had, and the living apparently lasted until I must have joined in January, say, of 82, and we played our last show in July. And it probably just in, I don't know, I don't remember, short weeks, couple weeks. Then what was probably really was just a couple of weeks. When you think about it, it's months. But no, I'm sure it was just a couple of weeks before we called it quits. And why? Who knows why? Just because we came to that point maybe where, I don't know, so it's not so fun right now, so let's just do something else. Because that's how you do things when you're 20,
Yeah.
And so then moving on to 10-minute warning, it doesn't, you see already you would only use expressions like that when you're talking about history and you're telling the story of history. But while you're just doing stuff that you do every day with your friends, you didn't think of, okay, we're going to go ahead and end this thing. Now let me document that. And then we're going to move on to our next project. It wasn't.
Sure.
It's just a bunch of guys kind of doing the stuff that they do with no longer view than, the rest of this day or maybe the end of the week.
Yeah.
So,
and I think the thing a lot of people do is try a bunch of projects and see what sticks, what works. I mean, that's the time to be experimenting and trying new things too.
Yeah. Yeah, but even that, while you're doing it, at least I wasn't, and as far as I could tell, the rest of us weren't feeling like, well, we're experimenting with. We're going through the experimental phase of life now, and looking for something that will stick. Just
yeah,
more. It's you just winging it, just day by day, kind of doing whatever seems fun right now. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Duff starts playing drums with these guys, and then they decide they want another drummer, and Duff's going to play guitar. So I come over and start playing, and that's a thing for I don't know, a year and a half or so before Duff and I left to go to LA.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I asked that question is...
Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
So the reason why I'm asking these questions is part of the appeal of listening back to 1982 now is kind of just seeing this kind of an earmark on the history of Seattle rock and proto grunge and punk, and just getting a feel for what the scene was, and kind of listening to some of the origins is that would have influenced or given us a window into what the music scene was like at that point. And so I guess the point of me asking some of these questions is to dig in a little bit and just get a little bit more of the context, just direct from the source.
Yeah.
And so to that end, I guess my next question is, so you record this album, and then over the next few years of projects, including Mother Love Bone, and seeing your other former bandmates go on to other projects as well. I mean, I guess it's got to be, I see it looking back from my perspective as you guys are kind of pioneers to a large extent, and influences for a lot of the other bands that were up and coming. That also rose to prominence. And what does that feel like for you? And watching bands like Guns N' Roses take off, watching the Seattle grunge scene take off, it's a very open-ended question, but would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Wow. I don't know what, it's fun to see my friends, I guess, go on to other, or have such successes in their endeavors. I don't, I don't think a lot about it, sort of. It's just, it's just normal. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just normal to me. That's sort of well, of course, or
sure.
Yeah, people are doing what they do. I don't know. It doesn't. It's great, and at the same time, it doesn't matter so much to me. I mean,
yeah,
that they're my friends. I'm happy for them. Happy about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it seems like kind of weird, almost nothing, but I don't. I don't have much of a philosophical perspective on that, I guess.
Yeah.
I could say I was surprised. Maybe that's one thing I was surprised, a little bit surprised when, not so much the GNR thing, but the Seattle-based bands, and maybe I'm thinking a lot of Nirvana, that they blew up like they did.
Sure.
Because, at that time, right at that moment, that was a pretty big deal, if you recall, that kind of suddenly, whoa, that music previously was not pop music.
Right.
Yeah. I think that was probably the first, like the heaviest music that was actually heavy and gritty and not like hair metal to do well in so long. And
Absolutely.
Nirvana kicked Michael Jackson from the top of the charts.
Yeah. That was kind of the first thing that sounded like, wow, you could kind of call that punk rock. And what's going on? It's all over the radio. Suddenly it made a certain thing okay that hadn't been before.
Yeah, because occasionally you'd see like the Replacements on Saturday Night Live or something, but number one record?
Yeah.
I don't think that was that. I don't even know if that was possible back then, because that was around the time SoundScan was introduced and they took a more mathematical versus a guesstimate approach to the charts.
Right.
Based on sold versus shipped.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I actually studied music business in college, so we did talk about that quite a bit, and the different factors that led to this music really, really taking off, especially in the 90s, because it was the first time that had happened in a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. I mean, that was that explosion seems like the right word there. And I guess my curiosity as a drummer myself, in listening to some of your records, and as I'm listening through to the style that you had and the sorts of drum styles that would have been heard throughout Seattle in the years upcoming to the Seattle grunge outbreak, is I'm hearing a lot of the same things that I would have heard later from like Dave Grohl and some other drummers that, stepping away from guitar for drums. I mean, I think it seems very clear to me listening in that your drumming influenced so much of that sound. And I think that's really neat. And I guess, is that something you've thought on, really taking credit for?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't know. In general, though it's not all grunge bands sound the same for starters. So I'm not
this is my argument. I always argue that grunge isn't a genre.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the rest of the world is talking about when they talk about grunge bands, but to the extent that there is such a thing, and how I interpret that was that what was happening in Seattle was a certain kind of infusion of the hard rock into the punk rock, and I can say I definitely that's how I played it. That's how I heard it. I was never really thought of myself as a punk rocker. But I definitely listened to more than my share of Ian Pace and Deep Purple. So that's what I was playing.
So you'd say that influenced your drumming more than like these New York punk bands, probably?
Totally. I don't, nice. There wasn't, in terms of playing, like a player's kind of playing, not that much of it coming from punk rock so much.
Cool. Yeah. So I know we've talked about the Seattle rock scene kind of in the early 80s and the early 90s. Do you have any thoughts on like what the Seattle rock scene, music scene is doing today? Is there anything in it that you're really excited about, or do you feel like it's kind of fizzled in certain ways?
Yeah, sadly, I don't know. I don't know if it's sad. It's maybe it's difficult. I don't I don't pay. I don't know that. I don't pay that much attention to what's happening.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't go out so much.
Well, nobody does anymore.
Yeah, I guess especially for the last year.
Yeah.
And though I cannot name much, I'm more interested. To me, Seattle has a kind of a cool jazz thing going on that seems more interesting to me. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
Kind of a new experimental thing, for lack of a better word. Catch all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. I can roll with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Rock music. I don't listen to that much plain old rock music. Of course, I still love it. It's part of what I am, but I don't. It's not when you get up in the morning and throw on the stereo or the YouTube music, as it were.
Nice. That's fair. If you don't mind, I do have a couple questions from our Patreon supporters. They just kind of threw out there. And one is from our Patreon supporter, Noah. And he says, quote, "I want to know what sort of weird experimental percussion shit you like."
Oh, yeah.
Do you like any weird experimental percussion shit?
Yes. Not a lot of focus on percussion specifically for me, but there's a band. They are Austrian, and it's been a while since they made a new record. Band called Radian.
Radian?
Yeah, that's good shit. That's
nice.
Geez, right now that's the most sort of out. Just interesting. Otherwise, a lot of Indian music, Moroccan music, Middle Eastern stuff I'm into quite a bit. Been playing a lot of bass in recent years.
Cool.
So, and I that hasn't necessarily led me to a couple of records I've been listening to. It seems now for a year or two, constant rotation. There's a Bill Laswell record that's mostly him by himself, and Jonas Hellberg, another bass player.
Okay, nice.
But for more sort of experimental stuff, that Radiant kind of is the thing that comes to mind. Not anything else.
Awesome.
Big Radiohead fan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Another question we had was, are there really cool instruments that you don't get to use much, but you like to play around with constantly? Or instruments, noisemakers, any fun stuff that you wish you could shoehorn into a project, but haven't been able to?
No, because if I wanted to, I would.
Respect that answer.
That's all there is. That's all there is to that. There's no proper or improper place for anything. You just
nice.
Play it, make it happen. So, but something that I do play a lot, but don't end up incorporating into much recording is just playing countertops and steering wheels. Whatever's at hand in the daily life.
Oh, I drive my coworkers nuts doing the exact same thing. I'll just mindlessly be at my desk at work thinking about something and just tapping away, just not even realizing it, either with my fingers or with my feet clacking on the floor. It's incessant.
Man, I'm glad I don't work in an office.
With him?
Just in general. With someone like that. Throw my LaCroix at you from across the room. Stop it.
She already puts up with me for an hour or two a week of podcasting. I think that's enough.
I think early in the podcast, it was especially weird when we were audio only. Occasionally you would like hit the desk or something.
Oh yeah.
Like,
you wouldn't know what the hell's going on over there.
Be like, I will kill you. Stop it. You are making this an editing hell for me. Sometimes he'll scream into the microphone.
It's like, is someone knocking on my door? Or and I'll have no idea that I'm doing it. Just completely.
That's right. That's the thing, isn't it? That you're just doing it all the time and often not even really aware of it. It's just the thing.
We were interviewing someone and their jewelry kept hitting their microphone.
Oh, really?
I think we stopped the interview. We're like, are you wearing a necklace or a bracelet or something?
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great interview, though. That was really fun. Other than like editing, I'm like, mute when they're not talking. Duck audio.
Yeah.
Duck 25 decibels. It was very loud. Very loud. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this early Sunday morning. We really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. The Killing. I'm sorry. That's a TV show I like. That's based in Seattle.
That's a good one.
The opposite of The Killing.
That's my next. That's my. Wait till you see what I dig up next.
Killing the living. No, The Killing. I was reading one of Patti Smith's memoirs, and she keeps talking about how much she likes The Killing, that TV show that was based in Seattle for a while. And I remember thinking, of all the shows that Patti Smith is really into, it's The Killing.
Well, I
watched that show.
When was that a thing?
Oh gosh, probably like 2015, 2016.
Oh, yeah, that's.
They had 3 or 4 seasons, including one I think was just on Netflix or something. But it was one of those shows where they made the mistake of like, you think that they're going to solve this crime at the end of the first season, and then there's this big stupid red herring, and you're like,
there's more.
Yeah, I think sometimes you do those cliffhangers, and you think they're going to be good and cool and fine, and then sometimes people just really respond badly to them, and people responded really badly to a cliffhanger at the end of season 1 and just didn't come back for season 2.
Oh no.
Yes. So The Living, 1982 by The Living. I fucking knew I was going to do that. Is out on April 16th on what's the record label? Oh my Lord.
Loose Groove.
It's a new imprint, right? Is it new? Loose Groove?
Not brand new. I think recently returned. This was kind of Stone. It was kind of or totally Stone's project from I guess now quite a ways back.
And they step out for 30 seconds. Deal with the kiddo. Hang on a second.
All right.
Did they do the
1994?
Did they do the first Queens of the Stone Age?
They did.
Stuff? See, I think it goes back to that. And that was 88? Wow.
No, 98. Yeah. I don't think that Josh Homey is that
old.
I don't know how old he is. I've actually never thought about it. All I know about it is that his wife was young. Well, his, I guess, separated wife was like very young when she started dating the guy from Rancid, Tim Armstrong.
Oh, I don't.
She was like 16 or 17.
Whoa.
Yeah. She's kind of a badass. Yes. So sorry, we were talking about Brody Dahl and Josh Homme. I didn't know they separated.
I had no idea. I didn't know they were together.
Nothing.
I don't know who she. Well. I don't know anything. But
punk rock. It's just punk rock.
He has to be not that far from my age. He was.
He's 47.
Oh, well. Wasn't he part of Caius? Are you reading Wikipedia? Dead air.
I don't see that one listed. He's got a ton of associated acts, though. Oh, Caius. Yeah, actually, he was. I'm sorry. That's right in there. 87 to 95. When he was 14 years old, he formed a punk-influenced heavy metal band with schoolmates.
Are you kidding me? He was 14 during Caius?
14, yeah. Wow.
Oh, that gives me a whole new perspective and respect. That's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah. Huh. I did not know that.
So that's why I thought he was my age, but he wasn't.
All right. Cool. I think that we actually need to wrap. Thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time. Andrew, is there anything else you wanna end on?
I can't think of anything else I need to drone on about unprompted. So
well, everybody listening, please check out the record, buy it in a physical format ideally. And thanks for watching, Andrew.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for understanding. Until next time, my name is Emily.
My name is Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
And that's Greg Gilmore. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.